So, welcome to the Business Spotlight Series. My name's Mark McNulty. I'm president of Action Coach Bluegrass in Southern Indiana. And today I have Sean Madden with us as my guest. Welcome, Sean.
Thank you, Mark. I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah, so Sean is the president, he's a serial entrepreneur. He's currently president of the National Association of Elevator Contractors, and he's also the founder of Elevator Strategic Hub, as well as some other things he and his wife are into. And today we're going to talk to Sean kind of a little bit about his business journey, what it's been like, to own and sell businesses, the challenges that he's overcome, best practices he's learned, and share a peek into what it's really like to be a serial entrepreneur. Now, if this is your first time on our channel, be sure to like and subscribe so that you get notifications when we drop future interviews. So, Sean, welcome again, and thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Mark. I guess you and I started working together a little bit back in about 2015.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
it came
met
to a few
almost,
of your
almost
class.
10 years ago.
Yeah,
So, tell us a little bit about your journey since then. You've sold one business, started a couple more.
sure. Well, just starting back, the original started Madden Elevator Company in about 2010. Originally planned on growing it, making it a sustainable business, and then hand it off to my son. Um, Well, he decided he wasn't interested in that business after he got older in life. So, uh, towards the end of Madden Elevator, I really wasn't working in the business day to day. I got it set up and got the right people in place, and was letting the business run and grow on its own, and really didn't have any plans to sell anytime soon. But randomly, our industry is going through a roll up right now, which a lot of private equity firms are coming in offering significant money to people and then rolling them up together to get scale. And I knew the gentleman that was coming in and looking at our business. He was aggressively coming after me for probably a year, and I kept saying no, no. And then I just said, you know what, I'll just talk to him. And they offered a significant amount of money that really was a lot more than uh, it was 2.5 times market value. So it's like maybe this is worth the time. It's the one time that it might be worth looking at. So we looked at it, and in a matter of 45 days, it was closed and gone. So then I found myself, okay, what's my next steps in life? One of the things I learned is I fell in love with strategic planning, and so I was out on my boat a lot, floating around. And I remember just saying, okay, I'm just going to start writing down like where I came from, my history of the industry. Because I grew up in the elevator industry. My dad was an elevator guy. Matter of fact, my dad helped install the elevators in the World Trade Center. Pretty crazy. And I didn't know that until after it was passed. When I said, "Mom, why is Dad on top of this building in New York?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, that's when he helped install the elevator in the World Trade Center." I'm like, "What? Why didn't you ever tell me that? I own an elevator business." Yeah. So it's I grew up, taking calls with him, and just went to school for engineering. Thought I was going to end up doing something different, working on planes, but ended up just falling in love with the elevator industry. And I've had a really perfect progression. I feel like it's been perfect opportunity where I spent the first third of my career in the field, the second third of my career in management, and the last third owning and running a business, and then eventually stepping out and strategically, planning and growing that business. While I was doing that, I started another business called Elevator Strategic Hub. And this business was intended to give back to the elevator industry with all the roll-ups. I feel confident that there's going to be a bunch of people who eventually sprouting out, starting up new businesses, and they're going to need some guidance and support and help. And when I was sitting there writing out there on the boat, I wrote my history, and then I started thinking about tools, tips, and tricks that I used over the years in the elevator industry to help me be successful. And then I was like, how can I give this information back to the industry? Actually, it turned into a book which is now published, called Empowering Elevator Business Owners and Entrepreneurs. And then it turned into, well, that is kind of the kickoff of what we're doing with Elevator Strategic Hub, which is really supporting businesses, independent elevator business owners, entrepreneurs that are going out, starting a business, and helping them figure out how to grow it.
Awesome. So, tell us more about Elevator Strategic Hub, and who are you, so you're kind of the independent elevator operators. There's a lot of consultants out there, right? So what's different about your approach that really makes you stand out as the right selection?
Sure. Well, good question. And we're not the right choice for everyone for sure. I've talked to several people and realized that they've gotten to a certain level that, they're pretty big, 10 million and more. That's typically not who we help. Um, we have a hub, which is a community on a Slack channel that we bring business owners in, and it's just for elevator business owners of the elevator industry. And that hub is really a community of startups and successful businesses that are there to help support each other, ask questions, get information. We put a lot of information in the hub about things they can consider for planning. And so that hub is really the starting point of helping anyone that wants to start a business, is to get in there and start, reading the stuff, the resources, finding the resources, seeing, asking questions to colleagues. But who we really help the best is, we call it 1, 2, 3. $1 million in revenue minimum, 2 years, or sorry, two managers in their business, because we want the top leader to at least have a second manager that can help with day to day, so that we can start thinking about how to help them work on their business. And then typically 3 years in business. So who we help the most are people that's been in business for a little bit. They've went through the startup phase and they figured out how to make it somewhat successful, and they hit that ceiling where, they don't know how to get to the next level. And the approach we take is slightly different than many other approaches. It's a very personalized approach, because I was a business entrepreneur in the elevator industry, and you know I feel and know a lot of people in the industry, and kind of the industry seems so much different to the elevator people. Essentially, the business side is the same, but the elevator side has some significant differences or idiosyncrasies. So we really tailor the program to their needs. I mean, we have a roadmap and a strategy to help them get from "I'm ready to start growing my business" to successfully growing and tracking it. And it's a 3-tier process that essentially, the first tier is called strategic elevation planning, which is working on your business. Where do you want to be in 5 years? Thinking about the big picture story, taking them through the mission, vision, values, what their niche is, a variety of different things. And that program is about 6 months long. We do it this ways because it helps people understand the process, think through the process, and gives them more time to work through the process. Because many times, new business owners in the elevator industry didn't come from business, and they didn't come from the industry. So it helps them think through these things a little bit at a time. Some people like to speed it up, but we recommend keeping it to the 6 month process. And that's the first phase of the 3 phases. The second phase is we take that plan and we implement that in their business with them, and help them and support them in terms of how they can set up their meeting structures or KPIs, their processes. And that's another 6 month program that slowly works through that process a little at a time. All along, we're here to support them. If anything happens, anything pops up, they can get a hold of me, they can get a hold of anybody in our business, and we will find them answers and find them support to help them in a variety of areas. And then the last piece of the puzzle is really after you got the strategic plan in place and then you know how you're going to run it, the next piece is understanding what pitfalls to look out for. So the third one is about, some people call it a business continuation plan. We call it a strategic analytic plan. We essentially look at all the potential obstacles with them and help set up a roadmap of potential solutions when they run across those roadmaps or those challenges. So it's like a year and a half program that can be broken up into three chunks of 6 months. And there can be breaks in between if they're not ready to take on the next phase.
Okay. Awesome. So you've built a lot of your own lessons in there. So because you said you've done this, you built one from scratch and you've been through that journey. So what are some of the roadblocks or challenges that are common themes that first you had to overcome and that now you're teaching other people how to overcome?
Sure. Um, well, there's a variety of them. I think one of the ones probably that resonates the most with me is understanding who you want to be as a business and making sure you're marketing to that so that you can differentiate yourself from everyone else. Because we are kind of in a commodities industry where it's like, okay, we do elevator service, but we're better than everybody else. So the why is very important and helping people to think through that why and really getting them to drill down into it and then understand what really resonates with them because the people that go out and start businesses often have some burning reason like they got tired of customers getting frustrated and they got tired of other companies not delivering what they promised and then helping them harness that what is the burning sensation of why they started business into a marketing concept so that they can start telling people why they're different, what is their niche, what they're great at, and how they can grow their business in that way. I wish I'd have done more of that when I started my company at Madden Elevator, but I really didn't think through those things as much as I should have initially. So I think that is one of the first places that we help people.
Okay. Awesome. So, you know, thinking of your journey, you started out as a doer, then a manager, leader. So kind of describe, how have you changed as a manager and leader over years? It's been a theme that's come up a lot lately is that shift and that growth as a manager and a leader that we have to undergo to build our teams and our businesses. So kind of what's been your growth there?
Yeah, I think most entrepreneurs in general are different. Like they're always thinking futuristic, right? They're willing to take that risk and go out there and do something. Um, the journey is typically always you got to get your hands dirty, you got to jump in and figure it out first, right? Before you can hand it off to somebody else. So, when I first started in I kind of feel like I've been an entrepreneur my whole life because even every job that I've been handed, I treat that job as if it was my stuff. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs are that way. Like they don't just go do the one thing, they do all the things they think are necessary to make that customer happy or to make that product better or to make that system better. And through that process, you're continually learning and growing. And a long time ago, I set out to learn everything I could about the elevator industry. And, I knew when the time was right, the opportunity would present itself for me to start my business, and it did. And how I've changed and transformed, I think, as a leader is a lot of it's education, and talking to people like you and a variety of other people, like just going out and having conversations and learning what's out there in terms of how I can be a better leader for my managers. And of course, quite frankly, when I first started being a manager, supervisor manager, I didn't have any clue. You try to figure it out, you get in there, you take classes, you learn from other people, you get mentors, and you continually develop yourself. And you can develop yourself to be essentially anything you want to be. What I found really resonates the most is when the leaders can help empower other people in their businesses to help them see potential that they didn't even know they had. And that was some of the best stuff. Some of the best work I've ever did is, helping people realize their true potential. I've had a lot of people that I've hired in as, low level. I had a reception that I hired in to answer the phones that now owns an elevator business. So
Mhm.
it's really cool transformation when you see that stuff and you push people in a positive way and then you support them. And I've learned how to be a better leader and a better support mechanism over the years to those people. And I think my transformation has essentially been just learning from other people too, like what helps them tick and how can I help support them in better ways.
Okay. So you kind of answered this, but I want to kind of ask it more specifically. So what's like the number one thing you learned building Madden that you are now teaching and coaching people in ES Hub? What's the biggest thing you learned building it, doing it once that you're trying to get the message out?
I think it is believe in themselves and don't let every situation that happens affect them negatively. Um, have a positive outlook, have a positive outcome, set up the system so that they can see progress, not perfection. Me coming from an engineering background when I first started, I wanted everything to be perfect.
Right.
And I didn't realize it was okay for everything not to be perfect. And you have to learn that people aren't going to do it like you. And it's okay to be 80, 90%. It'll never be 100% like you do it. Otherwise, you're going to be the one doing it all the time, every day, and you're never going to be able to learn to grow so that you can go work on the business to allow the business to grow. And helping understand that mindset is something that we help people go from essentially startups to start thinking about how they can work on their business when they have a second in command they can allow and trust to do things 80, 90%, then they can start working on the business to have a vision to figure out where they want to take the business in the future.
Okay. Awesome. Great. Thank you. I love that. So, we've covered a lot in just about 15 minutes here.
Yep,
Sean's gone from basically startup to sell to startup again. And, I think one of the lessons that to be learned here is that once you've built one business and you figured it out through all the mistakes that we make and lessons learned yet and then applied, once you figure that out, you can do it again and again and again. Would that be, is that a
absolutely.
fair assessment, Sean?
Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, when I first started in business, um, I remember going to classes and seeing stuff that said, "Oh, you need to plan, you need to plan, you need to plan." And there's a lot of stuff out there that says business plans are a waste of time and money because you do them and then they sit on the shelf. And I guess that can be true from the perspective of if you don't make it actionable, but part of the process of making it successful is going through the process of business planning, whether it's writing out a business plan, developing a growth strategy, strategic planning your future. All those things help you go through that process and that journey, make you think through it. And then putting those pieces in place and then tracking them to see how they work. Do they work? Do they not work? And how do I want to reset it? So consistently looking at that, like what we recommend is an annual overview of your company and then quarterly meetings with your management leadership team to understand where things are going. And then one side note, as a business owner, entrepreneur, you're always thinking, you're always like the future, what's going on, how can we get there? And we need it yesterday, right?
Right.
So by setting up a systemized approach to how you're running your business, you can help keep your like I had a situation where I kept driving my managers crazy because I would come in with the next greatest idea, the shiny objects and all that. And then we set up a system that allowed them to push back and say, okay, we'll put that on the list to talk about in our quarterly meeting, but don't derail us right now. Let's focus on what we're focused on in this quarter. So setting up strategic objectives every quarter is very important.
Awesome. All right. So last few questions here for you. And first one is, what's your number one key to success?
It's really simple. It's communication and caring, like, following through, following up, do what you say, making sure that whether it's a client or whether it's somebody that may not even be your client or somebody that may not even care what you do, helping to understand how you can help them and then communicating with them and supporting them and following up with them. I think a lot of times people forget follow up. They connect, but then they disappear. And I think building that relationship is really important, not only to, potential opportunity, because it may not even be with that person. It may be somebody else they know, but it's really just building relationships and communicating.
All right. Awesome. So what's a book you're reading now or read recently or listened to that you would recommend other entrepreneurs read or listen to?
So the one I'm going through right now, it's the third time I've been through it in the last few years. It's called the One Page Marketing Plan. I think it's one PMP. Um,
Yep.
and the reason I'm going through it the third time is because there's so many just nuggets in there that seem simple, but they're not simplistic. You have to really wrap your head around it from your perspective, from your business. And I really enjoy how it's broken down into a way that really makes sense and it resonates and it breaks it down into ways that is manageable. Because sometimes these things seem so big, it's like, how do I tackle all of those things? So I like how it's broken down.
Okay. Awesome. So next question. So if you had to choose just one area of your business that you could immediately improve tomorrow, what would it be?
Um, I think for me, it comes back to the same thing, which is communication. I wish I could automate communication more. There's a lot of technology out there, and I've seen a lot of stuff with AI and the bots and all that. But a lot of that is helpful information when somebody needs information. And what we're trying to do is connect that automation to make it human centric. So it's not just blasted common stuff. It's coupled with relationships and communication. But the automation helps you make sure that you don't drop communication inadvertently. So that's the piece that we're working to improve.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So if people want to learn more about Elevator Strategic Hub, what's the best way to do that?
You can go to the website. It's just elevatorstrategichub.com, or they can send an email to info at Elevator Strategic Hub, or even me, Sean, SEAN, at elevatorstrategichub.com. And my cell phone number, I mean, we have a business number, but I give out my cell phone number because a lot of times people just have a quick question,
Right.
and they want to text. So I always just tell them call or text me. It's 502-889-0924. I find texting nowadays is more common, and people like quick answers. So that's the quickest way to get a hold of me.
All right. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So last question of the day. So what inspires you the most right now?
Inspires me the most would be making a difference in our elevator industry. You know, I feel like I've had an amazing journey and came all the way through the process of starting out as a helper, came into a mechanic, went into adjusting engineering, went into supervision and management, worked for private equity firms, worked for independent companies, worked for union companies, worked for non-union companies, started my own company and sold it. And now I'm at a point of my life that I want to give back to the elevator industry. and I want to support, the next people that are willing to take that risk. And essentially that's what ES Hub does, is provide that support mechanism. And I tell the people in our company all the time, our teammates, I'm like, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So try to make a difference.
Awesome. Love that. So this has been Sean Madden, who's founder of Elevator Strategic Hub, serial entrepreneur. He's also president of the National Association of Elevator Contractors. And he has shared a lot about his journey, lots of little nuggets, just like that book, reading it a third time. I always recommend watch these interviews a couple times. There's a lot of little things that Sean shared in there that could be really big to your journey as a business owner, whether you're in the elevator industry or any other industry. An awful lot of it's the same when it comes to going from that technician to the manager to the leader owner and beyond. And he's shared a ton. So Sean, thank you so much for your time, sharing your time with us today, and your wisdom and your experience. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks a lot, Mark. Thank you for having me.
All right. So this has been the Business Spotlight Series. I'm Coach Mark, and we will see you again with the next interview. Thanks, everybody. Bye.